Hey everyone, welcome to the stream. Before I get started, right, really, I would like to apologize to everyone who was waiting for the stream. My aim is to do regularly in the evenings, once I get free, right? But I'm not well, still recovering. You can probably guess that from my voice as well. So, but this is one way of keeping myself also consistent and anyone who is following, motivating them, and then answering the questions as well, right? So, if anyone is new to the channel, uh, probably please feel free to give watch to my latest video. I think that was one of the highly liked one where I mentioned about how I solve different problems. If I have to go to you. So this video specifically, right? It kind of explains about different, like how I solved different problems and got really good comments also around this one. Uh, so that's about this one, right? So, but generally in my live streams, I don't do this. I focus on, like last time when I remember what we were doing is we were going over this, right? So this is something that I prepared when I was preparing for interviews. So basically, we discussed about OOPS, UML relationship, solid principles. There were five solid principles, and then there were design patterns, right? Like there were A-bent surveys, like there was strategy, design pattern, observer, singleton, factory. So in this, I'm going to revise some of these, right? That is my plan. Meanwhile, I'll also answer questions as I get those. Right. I'll also answer questions. That would be my second thing. Generally, I split it into two parts, solving questions and then answering the problems, right? Cool. With that said, let's get started. Let me start a timer for 5 minutes so that we kind of get good audience. I don't see like if even if we don't get good audience, I'll get started anyway. But we'll just give a couple of minutes to see if anyone is joining. Hey Raj, welcome to the stream. I don't teach things generally. Uh, it's more of a learning session around this. So if you follow my, so this is episode 62. I'll answer this one and then I'll move to the coding part, right? So this is session number 62, right? So earlier, the first 60 sessions, we were solving DSA problems. By we, I mean only I was solving, right? I didn't have any audience back then. But recently, people started joining, so now I was focusing on DSA. So if you are new, you don't know about me, probably I can put a link in my chat, so that can give you some insight. I am basically here to share my experience and then knowledge around that, not teaching, right? It's not a teaching session. It's like I solve problems, you can solve problems, uh, or whichever problems you want, right? It's kind of a motivation stream, if you will. You don't have to specifically code what I am coding, but yeah. And so that's that. And then other than that, what I'm doing now. So as for 60 sessions, we were doing DSA and whatnot. Uh, so now I am doing LLD. Okay, that makes sense, Raj. So, if you watch 61 and 62, right, we were practicing OOPS, UML relationship, and solid principles, right? Now, the next plan is to solve around 50 to 20, 15 to 20 problems around this, right? And code that part out. So, that is the plan for LLD. What I'm thinking is that if I get time, I'll be on live, like I'll have to stretch my nights. I want to learn all three, just like in school we used to have periods, right? I want to split it into 50-50 minutes and then practice DSA, LLD, and HLD because all of these three things are important as you grow in your career, right? It kind of gives you practical experience of building different products as well, and also kind of helps you learn, right? So that is the plan. And now for LLD, what we discussed was we discussed solid principles, right? So we discussed all of these. If we have to revise, that is also another good thing that I want to do. Basically, before starting a new stream, I just want to revise old things also. So what was single responsibility? Like each class should have their own only one reason, open to extension. You should use interfaces. This is like a clean example of use interfaces and then extend that interfaces as required or inheritance, things like that, right? And Lisco was that parents like a bird example, ostrich example, interface. You don't create big interfaces, right? And dependency inversion was the low level module. So here we build Gmail client or something similar to that, right? So here each of this was the email client, right? So here our email client was dependent on that. To revise this whenever I come in new, so that would be first thing, revise what we learned yesterday or what we did yesterday, right? Again, not a learning stream. And then the next thing that we dropped it where was design patterns, right? There are a lot of design patterns out there, close to 30, but I don't think all 30 are important, right? So close to 7 to 8 would be what we would like to stick to, right? And like kind of keep in our cache memory of brain. As of now, I don't know how can I keep this pasted somewhere because there is a feature on live streams. I've seen people do that ticker or something like that, but I am new to all this, so I don't have any idea. I'll figure that out probably how to kind of because if anyone news comes in, right, I just want to establish the credibility so that they don't feel like why they are watching a random person, right? Do all this stuff. So, okay, cool. That's the plan around that. Mm, cool. With that said, I'll get started to uh, design patterns, right? And let's start the timer as well. So I'll not be looking at the chat. Uh, I'll be replying to chat once we get through this, right? Coming to design patterns. So, generally, design patterns are of three types, right? It could be behavioral, it could be creational, or it could be structural, right? It all depends on when these comes into picture, right? So creational, so generally singleton is part of the creational, right? So we'll start with singleton, probably this one. This is a very basic one. This you might have, a lot of people might have implemented in their practical applications also. Uh, So, singleton comes into picture when you don't want to create so many objects, right? You basically only want to create single. That's why the name singleton, right? This helps when you have kind of a DB connection. So I can give a practical example. Like if you create so many DB connections, then you might get a driver timeout from the database also, which you're trying to connect because you made so many connections uh, in very short time, right? So this resolves around when you are creating an object, right? So here you are creating an object of a class, creating an instance of the class. So what does singleton make sure is that only one instance can be provided and it has a global access, right? So there are, and also there are like, what you can say, there are like 7 ways to implement this singleton. That's what I remember. You can implement it in 7 different ways. It could be thread unsafe, thread safe also, right? So we'll not implement 7 ways, but first of all, what I want to do is, right, let's create. I hope the screen is visible. Give me a second. Okay, I'll just take a look at the chat for a minute. This is going against the stream, but I see Arjun, bro, how are you? I'm better, but I've been better. Still some cold and stuff is there, so I'll not be speaking that much, I think. Saurav Kumar, hi bro. I have 3.5 years of experience in Java API development, but my CTC is low. I think when you want to get into a good company, it's not just Java. I don't think so. Mastering Spring Boot specifically would get you into any high CTC company, right? So what I would suggest is that make sure your DSA is strong. So for example, Google, right? All the 3 rounds are of DSA. So even if you have strong Spring Boot specifically, right? That is not going to help you. So that's one example. But let's say companies like Uber. So in that, your first round is again going to be DSA, and in HLD again, Spring Boot is not going to help much. In LLD, you can pass that without knowing the Spring Boot, right? You can just write plain using different classes. So I think uh, going just by oh, you one subs done a nice man. I never expected that when I started the channel. So thank you so much, guys. Thank you everyone who's been here, who have subbed. So little bit I'll tell more. So when I started this channel, I started this back in 2023. Back then also I was really good programmer, but I had never given so many interviews, right? So that credibility thing was missing. So when I started giving interviews 1 year after that, so that's when I got so many offers. I cracked the thing and how I got to know about lot of things, right? So that is where I thought that now is the good time to establish credibility among the viewers as well, so they don't feel like some random guys telling them random things, right? So that is the aim, and the aim of this live stream is to just to be very transparent with everyone, right? With their careers and with their DSA, so that all of the chaos is put aside and clarity is one side, right? Chaos and clarity. So there is chaos, if I can spell that correctly. Uh, Chaos and chaos or clarity, right? So this chaos kind of creates clouds in your head, and then if you have clouds around your head, right, then you get doubts then those clouds becomes into doubts, and then you lose hope, right? But clarity is something that is important. So my channel is all about clarity. If I started spreading chaos, then it's a problem. Cool. So I'll not look at the chat, guys, now. Uh, Not looking at the chat. 30 minutes left, right? So singleton we were discussing. What is the need of the singleton is basically that you don't want to create so many instances because you want to create a uniformity around your application, right? So one uh, object only, not more than that. So these are systems. In this systems only will create a package of design patterns. And then there are three types of design patterns. Sorry about that. The first one is singleton, right? So this is part of a creational design pattern, and the main aim of this one is that a class can have only one instance, right? So this is a creational design pattern. And just an FYI, no one is, I think, going to ask you straight away, right? Tell me about singleton pattern. Like it won't make sense, but you might get that question in your interview, right? That if you get that, then you are very lucky, right? If you get this is like object creation, right? That's why it is creational. Spelling are wrong. Is it wrong? But yeah, whatever. But it will be uh, mostly around. You should automatically understand, right? I'll give an example. So ensures that a class has only one instance, right? So that is the aim of this, right? Now, how do we implement it, right? So let's go to the implementation. Now, if you guys have used Java, right? Whenever we have this single, what we do is we do public singleton. This is not singleton, this is wrong way of T, right? Just to be clear about that, right? So let's say I have some variable also, uh, something, for example, this class, right? It has a variable and then I'll assign that value, right? So that is how generally this is a constructor, right? This will create object of it. So now later down the line, I can say singleton s is equal to a new singleton, right? So this has to be in a public stated environment. So let me write that also. Static. Let's do it this way. Public class singleton one, right? Public. Just an empty constructor. Nothing special about it. And then public stated void main. Single. And let's say, do I already have a public class here? Duplicate class. Let's suppose this is the thing, right? Singleton 1, S1 is equal to new, and then I can create singleton S2. Now this is wrong, right? I can create multiple objects. This is normal thing. Now, how can I not do this, right? First of all, you need to have its constructor, but that will be private, right? And one another thing, Java thing is there. When you want to use things at a class level, you use static keyword, right? Static keyword is used, is leveraged. So these are all Java concepts, right? If someone is not relevant to Java, worth the watch. So let's not remove this. Uh, not singleton. So singleton is not. So I'll get rid of this, right? This is not required. So singleton is class singleton, right? Now in this one, what we are going to do is we are first going to create its private static variable. This is going to be singleton's instance that is going to be passed around to everything. And then I'll create it singleton one private constructor, right? Now, so again, so you will not be creating object of this one, right? Because you can only create one instance, and that too it is already created here. That's the only thing that you are going to use. So we want to create a function that can be called at a class level like this, and then that will just return us the object, right? So get instance if instance is equal to new singleton and return instance, right? So here what I can do now is mm, singleton one instance is equal to on class, right? I am not creating its object directly on the class. So this is the singleton. Couple of things here. Create a class and you have its private endpoint, right? Now once you have its private endpoint, then you create static methods so that they can be leveraged at a class level, right? Now this is like a very there is a name for this also. Probably I think lazy singleton. Uh, this is not thread safe, right? Why it is not thread safe is because let's say you one thread calls this and another thread calls this, right? Then you have two instances created. So you need to make sure that this block right here is synchronized. So for example, if one thread is already in this, then the other thread cannot go inside this, right? That way, when the second thread will come in, then you will not have its null, right? So for example, let's say both of the threads are at line number 21, right? So they will both see that okay, instance is null, they will create two instances. So then instance one, which is run by thread one, and then instance two is run by thread two, right? They'll have two instances. So again, like if someone has any questions, they can ask, but I think again you should learn multi-threading on the side, right? Spend some time learning multi. Even I am not the best in multi-threading, so but this is like a basic thing that I know about. So I know, so there might be different ways to make it make it synchronize, like make it better, right? I'll use a naive way only, naive multi-threading way, right? So naive multi-threading way would be to we can provide a lock at a so there are two types of lock, like there could be more, but one is granular and the other is coarse grained, right? Uh, why is it a singleton two? Yeah. So one is granular, like you dug deep, and one is at a coarse level, right? So I'll just say that synchronized. So this means that if one thread is already in this, then the other won't go, right. This is like again not a best, I think, way, but yeah, this will do, right. Now another thing, another important thing, right? Where do we use singleton? That is the important question. It is mostly used. I have personally used it in DB connections, used to make DB connections and also logger, right? So you'll have only one logger object created. You don't want to create logger object in each of your file. That is another place where it is used. Hey Biswat, so I'll be doing two live streams. As I mentioned earlier, right? I'm planning to do it for a couple of hours. One is around 7 p.m. and then the second thing will be around 9:30, 10:30 p.m. There will be a live stream around 10 p.m. Like I generally do practice also. So as much this live stream is for everyone who's watching, they can ask questions. It is for myself also, right? To kind of learn and revise things. Uh, Links to this PDF. I'm not sure which PDF you're talking about, but this code repo I can provide the link, right? Once I push the code, there is a elegant engineer repository I've created, but I can provide that to you. Do you mentor? No, I don't provide like one-on-one mentorship because haven't really thought of. But if you have any questions, feel free to ping me on LinkedIn. I am happy to reply there. Uh, Like if you need some dedicated, like I'm happy to get on a call also. You can feel free to let me know 5-10 minutes I can chat. But if you need more than that, I'll have to kind of see my calendar as well. So, but happy to answer the queries in one-on-one in LinkedIn or uh, in the chats of other videos. So that is singleton, like very straightforward, easy kind of a pattern, right? Now the next come is factory, right? So again, factory is also creational. All of these are creational only. So factory is generally used when you have like different types of thing, right? Even uh, when you have to create like multiple objects, right? And you have different kinds. So let's take an example of this. Just want to make sure my. I think in which one we used factory in the very recent one we used when we were learning solid principles. Let's see. So it is important to kind of understand these things interrelated. That's why like I could write up a new example, but it is neither useful for anyone who's watching, neither useful for me, right? So why not we kind of walk through what we already know? I think vehicle factory, right? So this is the factory basically. So you have a vehicle, I think vehicle would be an interface. Yeah, abstract class, that also works. And then you have extended different vehicles on of it. But now if you have to create a vehicle, right, how would you create? Either you could create a new object every time, but we don't want to do that, right? What is the use of that? So factory help you to create different type of objects based on the requirement, right? So that is where factory comes into picture. So first of all, right, let's create a new Java package so that it appears in a structural. Yes, now it's good. Three. So let's say that I created a class. Hey Biswath, I was just reading you through your message. Uh, it's never too late to start. First thing that I would say, like age is just a number, so that doesn't matter. Like as you don't have experience in corporate, so the best option is to get entry level roles like SD1. So for SD1s, you would need DSA, right? I don't think so whether system design is being asked for SD1s. Most of the companies don't ask them, but I would say that start with startups because they don't have any strict criteria. Like you have a gap which is close to 5 years now, so that is a very big thing to overcome. Uh, you can probably try freelancing also. There are websites like Fiverr and whatnot. So that also is there, but no harm in trying, right? No harm in applying, right? Make sure you have your resume and then keep on applying. So the gap thing is not something that I don't have any friends around that who can guide like the best thing to you. But I get you. Starting DSA and all is good. Probably you'll have to start with some startup and then eventually get into. Hey, Saurabh, I already replied to your message. I think it lost somewhere. So I would suggest that you keep the live on your headphones. I already replied to you, but I'll just reply again that so it doesn't matter. I like what I mentioned was that Java Spring Boot is not gonna give you high package, right? So Google it only asks about DSS. So even if you have good knowledge of Spring Boot, it is not going to help you, right? So why to stick to just that? Why do you want to master that thing only, right? So first thing is that first round in every company will be DSA, at least for now, right? Second will be LLD, where you can pass with what, like you have been working in Java API for 3.5 years, right? So you would have good knowledge there. And then the third round will be HLD. So if you want a detailed thing, you can go watch my video. I have another video where I'm mentioning about what is the pattern. So that is what I think you should do rather than mastering just the Java Spring Boot thing, right? Because learning just one tech stack, that is good, uh, but that's not what companies expect, right? They need you to be crisp on your DSA skills. Cool. So we were talking about this, right? So let's say I have an interface shape, and then it has a what can shape property has, right? You can draw, you can color. Let's say let's call it area, right? And then you have class circle that implements shape, and then you have void area, right? Now in the same way you'll have a square. Another valid would be like I think payments. Uh, so that is another thing, right? So these are all the shapes. So now let's say if I have to create a circle, right? I can naive, like static. So naive way is that shape. Probably better would be payment. That is also kind of a strategy and factory kind of go in a way. So let's say you have a circle, circle is equal to new circle, right? And then you create a square, square is equal to new square. So every time we are creating objects, right? But now here we can like we are exposing their instantiation also, right? And there is no variable involved. Now with factory, what we can do is class shape factory. It will have its own function, right? Public static factory, get factory, or let's say get shape, and it will return a shape. And then you can pass in some args, right? Or let's say type. So here you can do that, like the switch case. So switch type if it is not remembering, but the idea is like this: if type dot equals let's say shape, right? You just return new circle, right? If type dot equals is circle, oh no, if this is circle, if this is square, you return new square, right? Now, like the question would arrive or return null. Like this is not a good one, so throw arguments, right? Like this is not best practice. Just throwing out there. Now, but you get the idea, right? Now, naive way is this, but now the better way is that let's say based on some user input, I can automatically do this in one line, right? Let's say string user input is something that I'm taking in. For now, I'll just say that it is circle. Now, based on that, I can just write this that you have shape, and then you can say shape factory dot get shape user input. So this way, this line keeps swinging. Wow, doesn't matter how many you add, right? So that is the main use of factory, like to create object without exposing the instantiation logic, right? Or you can say without changing also. Where I think this is mostly used is like various notifications, various payment systems that are practical example, right? You can use those there. So these are the two things that I like when it is like about creational patterns. Um, Having applied to, yeah, Biswajit, I'm like, I know you're in tough situation. So the main thing is, I think that gap that you have of 5 years off campus, that I understand, right? Because you have already graduated, so that to 5 years back. So there is no on campus right now. So you only need to try off campus. Maybe you can try some freelancing. Uh, that would be one way to go. Try some freelancing, or but that too I think now is saturated. But still, no harm in trying, right? And what else? Yeah. Okay, so with that, we have covered two patterns. I'm gonna take a break now. Hey, Premi Varsh, I'm good, bro. Thanks for asking. How are you? Hey bro, I didn't understand what you mean, Prem. Yes, funny coach. You can ping me on LinkedIn. I'll see. Not specific, like all my friends are graduated from college and then they started working. So, not specifically. I don't have any people who can help you specifically, but yeah, still. Cool. Moving to the structural pattern, right? Factory we saw structural before structure. Let's behavior is a little more. Uh, a strategy is like when you have multiple strategy and you want to choose one, right? Again, it is very similar to factory. Like payment is when you choose different behavior, right? Uh, let's create a that it, and then let's say you have a payment strategy, or it could be a payment method also. So we'll say that okay, we have a void pay whatever amount you want to pay. Right now, there could be different payment methods. So let's call we have a credit card payment that implements payment strategy, right? And then you have this only public void pay double amount. Then you have class UPI payment strategy, UPI pay, right? Now again, this is kind of now we'll have a payment class, right? Like a payment service, or you can also call it like a shopping cart, right? Uh, Shopping cart will probably have a payment strategy that it is going to use, right? So let's use shopping cart. So class, let's say cart only, right? And it has a private payment strategy. Now, whenever you create a shopping cart or cart, you pass in strategy which you want to use, and then this dot strategy is equal to that strategy. And then when you pay, click void checkout full amount, and then you just use strategy dot pay, right? Now, depending on the amount, it will automatically understand, right? So, for example, public static void main string args. Uh, this dog, let's say we have a cart is equal to grocery cart is equal to new cart, and this deserves a payment strategy, right? New payment strategy, or like mm, new UPI payment. So grocery cart dot pay, just checkout 10 rupees. So this will be automatically checked out, um, like via UPI payment, right? UPI pay. So that's all about uh, strategy. But so I'll see if I have any questions, and then I think I'll be ending this stream now. We'll be coming back to this around 10. Cool. Thanks everyone. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys coded along with me, learned something. Bye.